When you start being successful, you start second guessing a lot of stuff. Then I got popped.
Yeah.
Really don't know who popped me.
Yeah.
I'm paranoid.
34-year-old Slim 400 was making a name for himself in the California hip-hop scene. The rapper, whose real name is Vincent Corrin, was gunned down in the driveway of a house on 7th Avenue in Inglewood last.
YG, can you tell us what's going on today?
Oh man, we doing a Pyru walk, you know what I'm saying, a peace walk. In the Fruit Town Pyru across the street. Like, we've been at war for like the last 10 years.
For years, Compton was caught in chaos that didn't make sense. Bloods turning on bloods, Fruit Town Pyru and Treetop Pyru. Once united, now enemies turning Rosecrans Avenue into a battlefield. And right in the middle of all this madness stood a young rapper from the 400 block, YG, trying to make sense of it all. As the violence spread, YG watched his world collapse. Friends gone, people he trusted disappearing one by one. And before long, he became a target himself.
Crazy, right? I used to be at the parties getting jumped by performing, getting jumped, and all that shit, fighting shootouts and all that type. Shit was crazy.
He barely made it out alive, almost taken out by the same ones who once called him brother. Before the fame, before the platinum hits and sold-out shows, YG was just Keenan Daquan Ray Jackson, born March 9th, 1990. He wasn't born into trouble, far from it. His parents, Ulysses and Shoni, worked hard to build structure and keep him safe.
You got involved in all that?
And like the gangbanging?
Yeah.
Like 16.
16?
Yeah, I was 16 when I really started banging up.
They even ran a daycare, keeping things steady and focused. For a while, it worked perfectly. Keenan was a star athlete, a tri-sport player who found focus and discipline through football, his way out of Compton's traps. But life has a way of flipping the script. When YG's father was sent to prison on tax-related charges, everything fell apart.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you broke into someone's house?
We got caught. Well, we tried to run from police, got caught up. I did it for the homies.
The daycare shut down, money stopped flowing, and the family's stability crumbled overnight. Suddenly, the streets of the 400 block on West Spruce Street started calling. By 2006, Keenan was just 16 when he got officially put on, joining the Treetop Pyrus, specifically the 400 block. The name Young Gangster, or YG, wasn't just a nickname, it was his new identity. He didn't just hang around, he dove deep. By 10th grade, he was kicked out of Paramount High after running the yard during racial tension on campus. Before school, he'd be breaking into spots. After school, he was hitting parties. Football faded fast, replaced by a whole new kind of structure, one built on loyalty and danger. Then came the music.
It was crazy, right? I used to be at the parties getting jumped by performing, getting jumped, and all that shit, fighting shootouts and all that type. Shit was crazy.
When Tooted and Booted dropped in 2009, YG did something bold. Instead of hiding his roots, he embraced them. He repped 400 loud and proud, putting it on shirts, shouting it on stage, and taking Compton's energy far beyond the city limits. YG turned Treetop Pyrus into a worldwide name. That spotlight brought him fame, fans, and money.
The spot I was recording my album, I see like a black truck inside the gate. As soon as we hit outside, they start boom, 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 sparking. I fall back in the crib, I'm shot.
But in Compton, too much attention cuts both ways. The hate wasn't coming from Crips across the city. It was coming from just across Rosecrans Avenue, straight from Fruit Town Pyru. To really understand how things blew up, we gotta rewind a little.
Like, I guess these dudes was already on the block waiting for anybody to pull up to do whatever they was gonna do, but I was the one they called.
Treetop and Fruit Town weren't always enemies. They were once brothers under the same banner. They were part of the Pyru Alliance, a powerful unity built to stand strong against the Compton Crips and other rival groups in the area. But unity doesn't always last forever. Cracks started forming slowly, piece by piece, until everything fell apart.
Ambulance came and took me from there, bro. But I still fully ain't myself. I'm out, you feel me? I ain't really know what's going on, but like I said, I got hit.
The first real break came on May 27th, 2006. A Treetop member named Carly Jackson walked into a local liquor store just trying to grab some cigarettes, nothing more.
Hip-hop scene, the rapper whose real name is Vincent Corrin.
Inside, he ran into Harold Carey, a well-known and respected Fruittown member. What happened next wasn't small talk, it was a test. Carey looked him straight in the eye and asked, "What that fruit like?"
Making a name for himself in the
In Compton, that's not conversation, that's a direct challenge. It's a way of saying where you from and do you stand on it. Jackson didn't bite back. He just paid for his stuff, grabbed his chips, and left.
Corrin was gunned down in the driveway of a house on 7th Avenue in Inglewood.
But later that same day, things turned bad. Some Fruittown members spotted Jackson walking along Hickory Street, deep inside Treetop territory, and they took it as disrespect. That's when James Cox jumped out and opened fire.
My hood and the Fruittown crowd rules across the street. Like, we've been at war for like the last 10 years, but we just ended it. You know what I'm saying? We just ended it. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like we all needed to come in.
Jackson got hit in the hip and backside, but somehow made it out alive. But that wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. 2 weeks later, on June 10th, 2006, things exploded for real. Edward Fale spotted 3 Treetop Pyrus, Deshaun, Leslie A. Davis, and David Harvey at a gas station buying cigars. Instead of letting it go, he pulled up and unleashed about 15 rounds from a semi-automatic weapon.
Can you tell us what's going on today?
Oh man, we doing a Pyru walk, you know what I'm saying, a peace walk.
Davis was tragically killed on the spot. Leslie was critically wounded, and Harvey barely escaped by ducking behind a car and firing back with a revolver as Fales drove off. From that day forward, the alliance was officially dead. The tension stayed hot for years. Prison fights, online disrespect, quiet acts of revenge, but everything stayed just under the radar.
Hey, gang, what we doing, homie? Huh? Compete. All right.
Then YG blew up, and suddenly the world was watching. His fame brought a spotlight that made old wounds impossible to hide. Every show, every chant of 400 felt like it was reigniting something that never truly cooled off. By 2012, that street rivalry had officially spilled into the music world, and the whole city could feel the pressure building.
It all went down at the LA Convention Center, a night that was supposed to celebrate West Coast unity. YG was performing for Treetop, while Compton Menace, a Fruittown rapper, was repping his side. The lineup was stacked: Nipsey Hussle, Tiger, and more, a moment that should have been legendary. But once YG hit the stage, everything flipped. Compton Menace's crew started throwing up gang signs, red-on-red tension rising fast. In seconds, the energy turned violent. The stage exploded into an all-out brawl. Entourages, artists, and security were all caught in the chaos. Fists flying, people yelling. It spilled out into the streets. Then came the sound nobody wanted to hear: gunshots. The whole event got shut down instantly. By 2014, any quiet truce that once existed between Treetop and Fruittown was gone for good. Outsiders couldn't understand how Bloods could go after Bloods, but in Compton, the reasons ran deep. Old grudges, lost friends, and pride that couldn't be buried. Then came a string of violent moments that made peace impossible. One of the worst happened right in Fruittown's own backyard. A member named Tona was shot in the neck on Cherry Street, and in the same incident, a young woman named Jen Toya Theus lost her life. That tragedy set off a wave of revenge that nobody could stop. Soon after, a respected Treetop OG was killed. Then a Fruittown member named Terrell, or T-Mac, was taken out. Each hit made the next one more personal. The insults got uglier. Treetop started calling their rivals Fruit Loops, while Fruittown fired back with tank tops. The jokes sounded harmless, but underneath it was a full-blown civil war. That's the world YG was trapped in when things took a deadly turn. On June 12, 2015, around 1:45 a.m., he was in a Studio City recording session, working on what would become Still Brazy. It should have been safe. Studio City's far from Compton's drama, but someone knew exactly where he was. A car pulled up outside the studio, and without warning, gunfire erupted. This wasn't random, it was personal. YG was hit 3 times in the hip and groin area, shots clearly meant to end his life. In seconds, the place turned into chaos, people running, shouting, and ducking for cover as the night went up in smoke. YG didn't wait around for first responders. His survival instincts kicked in fast. His crew threw him into a car and sped toward the hospital like their lives depended on it. The drive got so wild they crashed on the way, jumped out and scrambled into another car just to keep moving. Every second counted, and somehow they made it to the ER before it was too late. When LAPD arrived at the studio, the place was silent. Just blood trails, shell casings, and no witnesses anywhere. Sergeant Ernie Fisher later told reporters that YG wasn't cooperating, but for people who understood the streets, that reaction made perfect sense. YG already knew what time it was. This wasn't random. Months later, YG finally spoke. Not to police, but to the fader. What he said confirmed what everyone had been whispering. That was some inside type. Somebody was really coming to get me. He explained how it felt like the shooters knew exactly where he was, like they had inside info. This wasn't Crip related, it was closer than that. Whoever pulled up had real-time knowledge, the studio, the timing, everything. That kind of setup only comes from people who once shared trust and space. YG survived and was out of the hospital the very next day, moving slow on crutches but alive. Physically, he bounced back, but mentally, something inside him shifted. In Compton, surviving a hit earns respect, but when you suspect the trigger might have come from someone you once called family, that plants paranoia deep in your bones. When Still Brazy dropped in 2016, critics praised it for its raw, stripped-down West Coast sound, but under those beats was something way heavier. Pain, betrayal, and fear all mixed together. On Who Shot Me, YG wasn't just rapping, he was processing the trauma. Speaking on fake friends smiling in his face while plotting behind his back, sleepless nights and loyalty turning into confusion. Even with security all around him, the streets kept bleeding. The closer people were to him, the more danger they faced, and his enemies knew it. If they couldn't reach YG directly, they'd go after those standing next to him. That's where Vincent Cornejo, better known as Slim 400, comes in. Slim wasn't just signed to YG's 400 label. He was Treetop Pyru for real, respected to the core. Born in Germany to military parents, but raised in Compton, Slim wasn't industry made. He was certified, loyal, and ready to ride for the block no matter the cost.
Slim 400 wasn't just YG's homie. He was his right-hand man, the bridge between the Fame and the 400 block. And in Compton, bridges like that become targets fast. In 2019, Slim went back to Compton to visit family, but the streets hadn't forgotten his name. A drive-by ripped through the area, bullets flying into his car. 9 shots hit him. Most wouldn't survive that kind of storm, but Slim did. He fought through multiple surgeries, spent weeks in the hospital, and somehow walked out alive. That kind of survival builds legend status, and Slim wore that story like armor. He thought he had cheated death for good, but in Compton, the past doesn't expire. It waits. Missed shots aren't forgotten, they just get postponed. 2 years later, on December 8, 2021, that old war found Slim again, this time in Inglewood. He was sitting in his driveway when it all went down. Surveillance footage showed it clear as day, a man walking up with a gun already in hand. Slim spotted him, tried to fight back, even lunged for the weapon, but the shooter fired first. Slim went down, and instead of running, the gunman stood over him and kept firing before calmly walking away. Slim 400 was rushed to Harbor UCLA Medical Center, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead at just 33 years old. The city that raised him now mourned him, another name lost to a cycle that never seems to stop. When the investigation wrapped, 2 names surfaced, Michael Linnell Terry and Tamara Lynn Bell. By July 2024, Terry pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter and was sentenced to 32 years in prison. Bell also took a deal, pleading guilty to helping after the fact. Prosecutors made one thing clear: this wasn't random street chaos, it was organized. Someone helped hide the shooter, someone moved the weapon, and someone made sure it looked clean. Slim 400's death wasn't just another act of violence, it was planned and protected. For YG, this hit different. He'd already survived his own shooting years earlier, but losing Slim carved a deeper wound. Fame had brought money, music, and power, but also paranoia, sleepless nights, and the harsh truth that in this life, not even success can make you bulletproof. Slim wasn't just another friend, he was family. Watching his closest brother lowered into the ground hit YG hard.
At Slim's funeral, YG served as a pallbearer, carrying the casket himself. It was draped in red bandanas, a clear symbol of Slim's roots and what he stood for. Later, YG got a tattoo of Slim's face on his leg with the words, "Brazy blood, love you P trees," a permanent tribute to someone who meant everything to him. Slim 400's death brought a brutal truth to light. YG's success could buy mansions, gates, and security, but it couldn't protect the people who stayed in Compton. His fame didn't shield his day ones, the ones still walking past the same corners where everything started. The red-on-red war wasn't about turf or pride anymore. It had turned inward. Treetop and Fruittown were tearing each other apart, doing what their enemies, the Crips and the cops, used to do for them. After Slim's murder, Compton felt heavy, like the whole city was holding its breath. It wasn't peaceful, but it wasn't blowing up either. It was tense. One wrong stare, one viral clip, or even a single lyric misinterpreted could have sparked it all over again. The old structure, where the older heads kept the young ones in check, was fading away. Social media had changed the game. Now, beef wasn't handled in alleys, it was broadcast online for likes and views. Young members were risking everything for digital clout, while the OGs watched the foundation crumble under ego and internet fame. Then something nobody expected happened. In the summer of 2024, word started spreading through Compton like wildfire. A peace walk was being planned. At first, nobody believed it, not after everything that had gone down. But the rumors were true. The person behind it was YG himself. Just the thought of YG, someone who had lived through it all, stepping up for peace, made the city stop and pay attention. YG reached directly. YG didn't just talk peace, he stepped right into it for real. He crossed Rosecrans straight into Fruittown territory and met face-to-face with their top figures. To make it even more solid, he brought along the game, a respected OG from Cedar Block Pyru, to stand beside him. The plan was bold. Start the walk at Gonzales Park, deep in Fruittown ground, march through the same streets that had seen years of pain, and finish at Tam's Burgers on West Rosecrans, a route packed with history.
Nobody thought they'd ever see it. Active members from Treetop and Fruittown, men who had lost close friends and family to each other's side, now walking side by side. YG led from the front, dressed in a white tank and red cap, carrying himself like a man who understood the risk and the responsibility. During the march, YG spoke to TMZ, saying, "My hood and the Fruittown Pyrus across the street, we've been at war for like the last 10 years. We just enemies, but we all from Pyru, so we don't really need to be beefing with each other." His message was real, coming from someone who had lived that war up close. Gonzales Park, usually a place filled with tension, felt completely different that day. Cameras clicked, kids watched, and hope actually filled the air. YG, a man who survived 3 gunshots, walked with no security, no bodyguards, just trust and courage. They passed through spots that had once been off limits, where beef had claimed lives, and they kept walking as one. Their final stop was Tam's Burgers, not just a fast food joint, but a true Compton landmark. It's been featured in music, documentaries, even crime reports. Kendrick Lamar showed it in Not Like Us. Every inch of Tam's holds history, but that day it represented peace. Treetop and Fruittown members stood together, not throwing signs, but sharing food and respect. For 10 long years, red-on-red violence split people who lived just blocks apart. Rosecrans Avenue had become a dividing line between life and death, but on August 18th, 2024, they crossed it together. The game's presence sent a strong message. The OGs were back, trying to guide the younger generation away from chasing online clout and back toward unity and purpose. By then, YG wasn't just a rapper, he was a leader in motion. He had turned his 400 brand into more than merch. It became a tool for change, a way to give back to Compton. Instead of running from his city, YG used his voice, his platform, and hits like My Inn and Big Bank to help rebuild what violence had tried to destroy, turning years of pain into power and hope. YG didn't run from his roots or pretend the 400 block was just a memory. He came back with real purpose. Instead of letting history fade, he faced it head on.
The long and brutal war between Fruittown and Treetop had finally come to an end, not with another fight, but with something powerful and peaceful. That walk down Rosecrans Avenue wasn't just symbolic, it was a statement. It said loud and clear that enough blood had been spilled, enough brothers had been lost, and it was time for Compton to start healing together.